Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Good.
Awesome. We're just going to let people kind of trickle in as they open the meeting up. So just kind of hang tight for a few minutes.
Starting to see some cameras turned on. It's bonus at 8 in the morning.
Comes quick. On these
I know,
short, I mean, I don't know if a short weekend's, a 3-day weekend's a good or a bad thing. I'm trying to filter that. Because man, oh man, I'm behind. And I'm tired. I was like, God almighty, it's Tuesday. I was wiped out.
Oh, definitely.
See what lounging does to you? That'll be my presentation today. Never lounge.
No couch potatoes.
Zach attack.
Okay. We'll give it
Might
just
still
a
be
few more
sleeping.
minutes while we let, yeah, exactly. We'll give it a few more minutes to those that are just joined. We're kind of waiting for people to trickle in. So we'll start in a few.
Give it a minute.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning. My name is Lindsay. I am the NextGen co-chair. I'm just going to kind of pass it off to Ryan, who is our social chair, and she's going to give you some upcoming events that we have.
Hi guys, I'm Ryan. I'm at Trumark Homes as the marketing manager, and the social co-chair or other co-chair is Chanel. You can see somewhere on your screen. Upcoming, we've got our site tour. It's going to be a virtual site tour of West Village and Brea by Trumark Homes, and that's on June 22nd. And then we have our next in-person event, which we're so excited. We're doing a bonfire on June 24th at the Balboa Piers, so you'll get more information on that soon. So we'd like to see you guys. That's it. Katie, do you want to go ahead and introduce James? And then I don't know, James, do you want everybody to introduce themselves like in person? We can do a popcorn or just in the chat type thing.
Yeah, I don't know how many folks are on, but I like seeing all the new names. I recognize a few, and I recognize a few phone numbers. I love it. I mean, if it wakes anybody up, please do. If you can remember your name this time of the week, you're doing right. You're doing
Awesome. It looks like we got about 17 people, and then plus yourself 18. So I think we can definitely have people introduce themselves, not too many. So Katie, we'll start with you, and then you can popcorn around and maybe just say your name, where you work, and anything else you want to include, fun fact or not.
Okay. Sounds good. Katie Kowalty. I work with Kurt Pringle and Associates. We do a lot of public relations, government affairs consulting. And we have the pleasure of working with James, so I'm excited he's here today. And I will popcorn to Gretchen. Gretchen, you're muted.
That's weird. Hold on. Sorry. It's 8:06. I'm Gretchen Pelog. I work at Kovac Marketing. Fun fact, I know James through some different political speaking events. So great to see you this morning. Thank you for coming on to talk to us. It's a pleasure.
And you're a great supporter, Gretchen. We love you here.
Thank you. I want everyone to join me in that effort. I'm going to popcorn to Mike Johnson this morning.
Hi, good morning, James. Pleasure to meet you. Mike Johnston. I'm with Recupero and Associates, and we're an entitlement and government affairs consulting firm. So I will kick it over to Christina Maxwell.
Good morning. My name is Christina Maxwell. I'm a senior environmental planner at LSA, and we do environmental consulting for various firms. I think we've worked with several of you before and have some members on BIA. So happy to be here this morning, and I will popcorn over to Elle Schuler.
Hi, good morning. My name's Ellie Schulert, and I work for William Hesselholt Architects with, I'm the marketing coordinator, and so I work a lot with Lindsay. And I'm excited to hear from you today, James, and learn something. So thank you.
you.
Sorry, I'll popcorn to John.
Hey everyone, I'm John Mackey. I'm a research analyst at John Burns Real Estate Consulting. So we just do consulting for the residential and multifamily real estate markets. And I'll popcorn to, let's see who hasn't gone. Kelly.
Hi, my name is Kelly Abling. I am the corporate marketing manager for Lancy Homes. So we're one of the home builders. I'm gonna popcorn to Devin.
Good morning, James. Nice to meet you virtually. Devin Dial. I work for Rupert Construction Services. We are a owner's representation and construction management firm. So it's great to be on here with everyone and learn a little bit more. Oh, duh. I'm going to popcorn to Shelby.
Good morning. My name is Shelby Teedy, and I am a sales rep with Outdoor Dimensions. We're a signage, interior design, graphics firm. I apologize, I can't be on screen. I'm actually out driving projects, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to hear from you, James. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And I will popcorn over to Leanne.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leanne, and I'm the marketing coordinator at the Neely & Associates, an architecture firm. And I'm super excited to hear about you, James. I've heard about Shopoff a lot recently, so I'm really excited to hear about the business and your role there too. And I will popcorn. I'm gonna butcher your name.
Eight.
Okay,
You almost
wow.
got it.
On point.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, my name is Ain. I am an intern, a research intern at John Burns Real Estate Consulting. This is my 3rd day, so I'm really excited to be here. It's a great learning opportunity. And fun facts, I was born and raised in Yangon, which is in Myanmar, which is Southeast Asia, and this is my 4th year in the States.
Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, yes, and I'll popcorn over to Chanel.
Hi, James. Hi, everyone. I'm Chanel Teakin, the marketing specialist at Boudreaux Pipeline, underground infrastructure. And I will pass it off to someone just joined in. Manasa?
Chanel, you're with Boudreaux?
Yes.
Oh, great company.
Yes.
So far, everyone's got a great company.
Yeah, right?
You did well.
Alan sends his best.
Thank you.
Yeah, to Manasa.
Hi, my name is Manta. I work for NGO. I am a soils engineer. Been with the company for 5.5 years. Hello, everybody. I just joined, so I'm not sure if anybody else is still left to go.
I think just Evan.
Evan Price, I'm a geologist. Just my computer is not agreeing with me this morning, so I should be on video here shortly, but I'm happy to be part of this meeting. And is anyone else here I can popcorn to? I'm just on my phone for a second, so I don't know who's still left.
I think that's everybody. Holler if it's not, but I'm pretty sure everybody had a
Thank
chance
you.
to introduce themselves. And Katie, you want to take it away?
Sure. So we're really excited. Uh-oh, I think I just froze. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, James O'Malley. Most of you know him as being a fun, down-to-earth guy who works at Shopoff, and I've been really lucky to work with James on a few different projects through Kurt Pringle and Associates. So James has more than 38 years of experience in the real
Whoa,
estate
whoa, whoa,
industry.
whoa, 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 whoa. Go easy there.
What? I have sources that tell me it's 38 years. So
I'm only 28. I just party a little too hard, you know?
So he has this many years of experience in real estate. He's currently the Senior Vice President of Forward Planning for Shopoff Realty Investments, where he leads the development team through a project's development cycle from land acquisition, due diligence, and the entitlement process to ultimately managing the sale of the assets. James joined Shopoff in 2016, and before joining, James was VP of Land Acquisitions for Meritage Homes of Southern California. As many of you know, James is super involved in the BIA, where he serves as an Orange County board member. He also serves as a member of the Huntington Beach Wetland Conservancy Board. And most importantly, James is a beer guy, not a wine guy. So it's very important. And I'm sure he'll have much more to talk about his experience and working through the public process. So James, the floor is yours. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for joining and listening to me early this morning. I hope I can give you some depth of the industry. I do have a theme today because I had to think about something to talk about rather than just rambling on, which Katie knows I can do. And I thought the theme, and it's sincere, is the good old days are here, especially in this industry. I've kind of been involved in a couple downturns and changes, and let me tell you a little bit about where I came from, so you see how I was molded. I went to school in San Luis Obispo pretty much to get out of my hometown because there was a certain judge there that suggested I do that. And then I got lucky. I got a job right out of school with a company called RBF, which is now Baker International. And the cool thing about that job is it was very family based. I loved it. We played softball together. We went out for beer and pizza together. We celebrated birthdays together. So it was a very, emotional, bonded atmosphere, which I probably didn't have a lot of growing up. Flipped out of there. I got kind of recruited by a client I was doing so much work for called Han Development. And that was a good graduation for me maturity wise, because I learned about ego and bigger egos out there on the block that I wasn't too conditioned to. And I really got a grasp on politics. And I think that's where I really learned, you take a political science college or political science course in college, you just want to get a damn grade and get the hell out. But at that job, because of what we were doing in the world of entitlements, I really learned about the human nature of our business, and it hasn't changed. And I'll get to that in a minute. Then Mr. Han, he basically got out of the land business. So heck, we're not going to wait for a pink slip. I went over and interviewed with Beazer Homes because I thought it would be a really interesting component to my personal resume to go work for a home builder and see something happen that you work on. Everything before that was all paper. And to really work on a project to see, the first time I went and saw grading going on and then vertical home construction and learn all the aspects that go on in a home building company was pretty darn fascinating. And a time and period in my life and career that was very, very energetic and very, very fruitful working for Beazer Homes. And it was a publicly held company, so you learn those kind of aspects and that kind of organization and rule setting as well. After that period in my career, I went and got an opportunity to go start up with TrueMark Homes. They didn't have a division, so they came to me and go, "Hey, you feel like starting a division?" I go, "Yeah," and I've kind of I'll get this in a minute. I've kind of remember isms growing up and then in my career where somebody would say something and it stuck with me. And one time a really wise gentleman said, "Hey, James, never look back and wish you had. Never look back and wish you had done that." And I go, "Well, I'm going to see if this works out." So I went from a really good position in a corner office and all that to a cell phone, a business card, and in my truck. And it worked out. It was really fun because like a lot of you on this call today, I love marketing. I love branding. I think if I ever had to do it again, that's what I would do. I'd take a product or work for a company that can make this more popular, more profitable, all that. Sell more of those widgets, by ways of marketing. I just think it's a fascinating science, in business to, create popularity. Small, back to after True Mark went over to Meritage and did more land acquisition, and then here to Shopoff. But my background, and I think what I'll answer any of your questions if you have them. I really look forward to that. But really, my root, my essence has been land acquisition and entitlement, and I really believe the two fit very well together. I've done a lot of land acquisition, and I've done a lot of entitlement. And if you know both, then a lot of I always thought in this business, know a little about a lot, But when it really comes to land, if you're involved in entitlement or land acquisition or any component of that, the two really do bond, and you can do better at both if you've done some of both. So I was fortunate. My skills allowed me to do that. I really learned the politics of land acquisition and entitlement. I know if all of you are skilled, and sometimes I say this, sometimes I get listened to, sometimes I don't, this is still a human business. You can kick butt on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm blown away when I go to meetings how quick some of our underwriters go through. It's like, my God, how did you learn all that? But it boils down to people. Every time Gretchen, you witness it, when it comes to an agency, it's usually humans that are making a decision for a huge investment on your company's part, i.e. an entitlement, and or negotiating and persuading on a land transaction or any permit process in this business to advance property through the process to get to your end goal. And home building is building and selling widgets. That's how you get back to your capital and your return on capital. So I got lucky, with each company. I learned a lot. Back to those isms. I just keep on remembering them. Winners find ways. Do something, even if you fear if it's wrong. I had a boss that used to tell me that, James, just do something. But then he kind of whispered, "Don't be wrong." No, kidding aside, I kind of picked up on that. The most recent one lately is I heard Bill Shopoff last month say, interest doesn't have a clock. So what he was meaning is like, sometimes this business is 7 days a week, periodically. Everyone knows that, we all need breaks, we all need rest, we all need charging of our batteries, but you kind of, it's hard not, once you're engaged, at least with my personality, not to be kind of involved in business to some degree or some idea or thinking about problem solving. We're pretty much professional problem solvers when you really boil down to it. And I used to tell my kids, when they ask what I did for a living, I go, I go to a place and we solve problems all day. That's kind of it. Then we come home and I deal with your mom. No, just kidding. So what I wanted to kind of get to today, and I mentioned this to Katie and Lindsay and Ryan yesterday, is I think it's an amazing time to be in this business. Look at this, especially in this state of California, it's created its own problem. And there's so much jurisdiction, there's so much legislation, there's so many rules that keep the goal from happening. I know the governor, he's got a really cool hairdo, is always saying we need more housing. Well, we ain't gonna make 3 million homes overnight, and I bet we don't in all of our lifetime. You just can't do it. There isn't the process that allows for it. There isn't the infrastructure that allows for it. There isn't the political will to allow for it. I mean, even with all the RENA numbers and all the problems that cities are having, most of them are in the black. They won't admit it, but very few cities are running a profit and running well without problems with debt and so forth. It's still difficult. It's amazing. You can convert, it blows me away only because maybe I'm, prejudiced and prejudging. When you take an old scrappy piece of land, which most infill sites are, and they're usually contaminated, and you come in and make an offer to these agencies, would you think you'd have a fight? Well, we still do. And it never surprises me, but the demand for housing or other certain uses, logistics is, who'd ever thought that logistics, as far as the land value, warehouse, fancy name for warehousing, would be so high. So if this business, if you're in it and you like it, I think you've got an incredibly bright future because of all the concerns, all the problems, all the friction that's happened to date. I mean, finding land, I mentioned to Katie the other day, if I ever hear somebody say, yeah, we're going to find some low-hanging fruit, I'm going to bash this person in the head. I go, there's no more low-hanging fruit. Matter of fact, we got to go find a root. It's that difficult. The whole trend and the patterns of where people want to live. I still think people want to live coastal. I still think they want to have an urban setting. Yeah, I know the Inland Empire is going crazy. One thing about Shopoff, and the reason why I like coming here, and the reason why I pursued this opportunity, it's so damn eclectic. We do so many different things. When I was working for a home builders, it was pretty much channeled. There were certain parameters on land that we would look for. Why? Because we're in the home building business, So if it had a retail use, we'd have to pass on it. What we do here, in a good example of how strong, how deep the market is and all the changes, it's phenomenal. Let's use retail, for example. E-commerce is killing it. We all know that. You come to your front doorstep every day. I don't know about you all, but my wife buys toothpaste on the internet. It's amazing how many deliveries we get. Well, we're not alone. And what that's done to retail is opened up many opportunities. We're finding old retail centers, like one that Katie's working on, for instance, in Fullerton, 12 acres, looks like a Hollywood movie set. They're not selling anything over there. There's a couple tenants left over. It's perfect location to re-envision, in this case, a residential. We're going to maintain, the good thing about this company, we're going to maintain a small retail component, parcel it, and then make a transaction on it later. We're looking at us in the city of Santa Barbara right now. Who would ever think that we could do business in Santa Barbara? There's just no way. You drive by, you can feel the finger from that city, as far as, bringing in, being a land developer. Well, they're feeling the consequences of that spirit, that attitude. And I mean this in all respect. I'm not trying to be mean or indignant, but towns are businesses, cities are businesses. They need to produce income, and that beautiful area called Santa Barbara, California, hasn't been doing that. And then you add, the downturn with e-commerce and the downturn with retail, and then COVID. It's a ripe opportunity. And believe it or not, we're looking at an old Nordstrom's shell. It's an empty building. And I know some of the ladies on the screen here, maybe you too, Zach, because you wear nice shoes, are upset about that. But kidding aside, it's a phenomenal opportunity. Who'd ever think? But because of the situation and that particular site, we're looking at doing an all office rehab on that particular shell, and it's a lease with the city. So we're getting involved in all kinds of different opportunities, all different kinds of projects, all different kinds of efforts and markets, which I find fascinating. And again, I think if you ever do get to come to your job, you go, man, it's so rhetorical. It's getting kind of benign and standard. That's when I kind of started thinking, hey, a change might be good. You know what I mean? If change is good. And I think that's one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to persuade people, especially decision makers, is change. Most of our opposition, when it comes to any effort in a city, it's usually change. It's a human trait to be concerned with and then be scared of. And then in most cases, it's usually a very, very positive thing for a lot of different reasons. So, it's an old term, the good old days or whatever. I think in our industry, it is now, and the future is bright. There's so many, we're going to come out of post-COVID. I read a lot of journals because Bill is an amazing reader. So he filters them for us, so I don't have to read the whole, a journal of like a Wall Street Journal, for instance, or the Epoch News or whatever, Orange County Business Council. He'll pick out articles. There's going to be a great economic wave if it's not already happening. I don't know if you all watch the stock market or think, indicators like that, but it's very strong. Home builders need pipeline. There's always need for marketing. Someone mentioned, and I apologize for not remembering the name, about you've been reading a lot about Shopoff. Well, we have an amazing marketing lady. And, if I get a new shirt, there's an article about it. Like, what? I'm kidding aside. It's like, why not? Why not take advantage of things we're doing and expose it? what that does is it garners customers. We have people calling us all the time. We have a securities firm, and that's how we raise monies for our projects. So there's these, a lot of things I learned. Like today, I didn't even know about the term popcorn. I thought I was being hip when I used to use the term Hollywood Squares on these kind of Zoom calls, but I didn't even know what a securities effort was or broker dealers until I came here. Well, that's how we raise funds. So we're privately funded through basically men and women that invest for others in different accounts. So we're internally financed. I really like the part of our company where we can make a decision quickly. I've been at the public held companies, there's usually a board, and there's people on that land committee or whatever, or that board that kind of have to ask questions because that's their job too. Or, maybe not trip you up, but, make you think hard before they make a strong investment. Every one of these projects, as you all know, has a story. I've learned from every one of them something that I thought I might, I thought I knew it all, but this one will be typical. Like, oh my God, not this one. Look what just popped up in all different chapters, all different layers of information and task responsibility. As an example, and I'll be quiet here because I don't want to just talk about me. That'll put people asleep, and we'll see you start nodding off. Who would have thought we'd all become experts over here with toxicology and contamination? I used to read a phase 1 report and then look at the conclusion and throw it away. Now I read them closely. Now I'm reading phase 2s. Now I'm talking to a consultants that do this for a livelihood. That wasn't the case 10 or 15 years ago. No way, no way. So we become very good and very close with the DTSC, up in Cyprus, with water quality, with county health departments, and running that process separate from the entitlement process, separate through all the other applications you have to be concerned with when you invest in land. It's just very typical for anything infill. You're very lucky if you don't have that concern placed on it. So I just would, make you all feel comfortable, adore you all for, number one, being involved in BIA. There's a plug. No, kidding aside, they didn't have a NextGen when I was involved in the BIA. And I hate to admit it, I was usually, at one point, I was the youngest guy in the room. I'm like, wow, what am I doing here? Except these people look pretty bright, pretty wise, and pretty involved. And I think that the BIA has really, really evolved. I'll be straight with you. I was bored years ago when I went to, I guess I was on the directors, and we talk about the budget and the golf tournament. Now it's like really advocacy and protecting our livelihood and protecting our businesses and protecting our values. It's because it's seriously under attack in all different aspects from different groups and different entities, including the government, and in many ways. So I think it's a very admirable, positive, fruitful place to be with. I think all of you that are up here at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday listening to me, it shows a great sign of tenacity and loyalty to your employer. And I applaud you. So that's it. I'd love questions. I'll leave you with my email. If a question comes up, it usually does sometimes, like, oh my God, I wish I would have asked that guy blank. I'd also like to have all your emails because we're pretty much loyalists, meaning anybody that's really involved in the BIA, and Laura would love this, is that we try to reciprocate, in that way. Who am I to give any advice to anybody, except I really want to employ that the industry is very strong. You picked a great one, and it's going to be really, really fruitful for years ahead for all of you. Thank you.
James, so
Yes.
I have a question or / discussion topic that I would like to present. Also, are you guys hearing an echo, or is it just me?
What you say? I didn't hear your question.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I have double time on, so I think that's why I hear an echo. Okay. So I have a kind of discussion topic that I think would be interesting to bring to this group. So you talk a lot about how cities are businesses and we need housing. I think the argument among like our young peers or among NextGen, right, is also the need for affordable housing, which there's a difference between what we think is affordable for us to be able to buy an actual government mandated affordable housing. When you are presenting to the cities, I've seen you present a few times, can you talk a little bit about why it is so difficult for a developer to do affordable housing? Because I think this is a great argument for maybe NextGen to hear about like the cost, kind of like a very simplistic way to explain how difficult it is for a builder to build this like affordable housing type the argument that you hear from NIMBYs so often.
Yeah, I'll start. Gretchen, great question. And I mean that sincerely. I become very good at talking our way out of it. And I'll tell you why. And I just had this conversation yesterday with the city manager in La Mirada. They asked that same question. And do you do affordable housing? I go, only if we're forced. And he kind of laughed. I go, I mean it. Here's the problem with it. And then you can kind of be coy. And I had another conversation, Katie, you were on that line yesterday with a councilman in Fullerton. We try to develop where we can. Everything boils down to the site and a situation. That site has a market situation. In a lot of applications you have to think about before you create a plan and a product on it. I would rather do business, Gretchen, in a city that if it's a topic and it's a political topic, then you better have the guts, Mr. and Mrs. Mayor or Councilman or whatever, to have an ordinance that addresses the issue. Believe it or not, Huntington Beach has an ordinance. So then it's a rule. So when you're underwriting, it's a cost. You can apply it towards your underwriting because there's going to be a cost, i.e. 10% or some other component. So you can underwrite it and it becomes a line item in your budget, not a policy like Anaheim. God bless them for putting a policy, but the policy in Anaheim is you go in there and talk about it. And I did that one day. I go, so we're done with, we've achieved that policy. And the guy goes, yeah. I go, well, we haven't created any affordable housing. And he goes, no, but that's the policy. So if there's an agency that has the strength and the courage to create an ordinance, that's better than just having it float out there and then having a developer volunteer it. Because we didn't underwrite for it, therefore the land value typically didn't incorporate the discount and the cost of providing. Personally, I would rather, it's a simple formula. I'd rather design for it and it goes to a commodity. If there's more housing, more product, the supply maintains the pricing and more people can afford it. But the problem in California, back to my original pitch, it's gotten so difficult that what's really affordable, the best you can do, Gretchen, is create some kind of attainable or workforce, whatever the classic cliche is. And unfortunately in Orange County, it's probably $750,000, $800,000 on the average price point to even be attainable. Another concern with affordable is it's just not popular with people. For people that already have an established, it has a terrible reputation that the unwashed public will go there. And then another constraint it has is how it's employed by the agency. I know, for instance, we'll pay an in lieu fee at times, because sometimes that's what the ordinance permits. Or in the case of our last project in Anaheim, we just volunteered a fee per unit. Where does that money really go? Do you think that agency is really creating affordable programs and sites? Not really. So I know it was a roundabout way of answering your question. It's difficult in so many factors. It's difficult politically, it's difficult financially, it's difficult how you manage it. Like, who's the lucky winner that gets this unit? I never thought that was quite fair, to be honest with you. Just my libertarian values. I don't get how come they get to buy that home for less than half price, less than what it costs to build. I don't know if that's really too fair with me. But again, I'll go back to a city. If they have an ordinance, at least you know you're dealing with the rules and you can follow it. So I think that my best pitch here to answer your question and then get some dialogue, if cities have the problem, they should create the rule to solve the problem. Many won't because it's not popular.
Looks like Zach has a question.
I'll keep, I mean, here, I'll use myself as an example. My first condo, Gretchen, they had a first time buyer program in the city of Mission Viejo. It's the only way I could afford it. It was great. It was, I mean, anybody could go in there as long as I had to wait 2 days in line overnight to get on the, the list for phase one, but it was great. It was, I think it was like 5% down and it was a super opportunity. So that's what drives us in, but I paid market rate, but I think that's what drives the opportunity for home ownership programs like that.
Yeah, thanks for answering. I think it's because so many people like outside of the industry, our age, don't understand why housing is so expensive, why builders are not building more affordable housing, not just market rate, but like the affordable type for other workers and things like that. And so it helps hearing you explain why. I've heard it many times, but I think just the general public doesn't always understand how expensive and difficult it is to build housing. And so when you're able to kind of simply explain, like, this is a business, we can't just build affordable, cheap housing in Huntington Beach along the coast because we need to, like, that doesn't work. So
yeah, it can be profitable. For instance, everyone's heard of Jamboree. They're great at it. There's an organization, actually, is an ex-college roommate of mine. CARE, C. Pontel's group. They do affordable housing nationwide. They're out of Upland, Core. So there's a market for it. It's a very small percentage. And again, it's more society issues that have caused the problem and how a government has to take lead on it. And most of them don't want to be honest with you.
Hey, James. Sorry. I have a question. I don't mean to jump to another topic, but actually I have a two-part question. And thanks for joining us this morning. I appreciate it. It's great to hear from you. Great to see you. One, what do you do outside the industry that keeps you entertained, helps you decompress, kind of some hobbies so we can get to know you personally? And then secondly, what kind of keeps you up at night as from a business perspective and industry related kind of topic?
Well, that's a good point. For fun, I don't know. Does yard work count? Sometimes I get a kick out of doing yard work because I can control it and it's kind of mindless per se, and it's rewarding. And then for like, when I really do want to go have a relaxing moment, I ride a motorcycle. I just get on my bike and ride. I did that last Monday and it was a lot of fun. I love listening to live music. I have friends in that, do gigs, as they call it. They're really good musicians. So I love going to listen to live music. That's kind of it, really. I'm a tinkerer, so that's what, the time's so precious and so short. 3-day weekend, for instance, example was over like that, but that's how I kind of go at ease. A lot of things used to keep me up, Zach, in this business because I wasn't mature enough to manage it. And I used to want to fight, not physically, up here with problems. Like, how dare you challenge my livelihood, Mr. and Mrs. Opposition? And it would keep me up. I would be thinking of strategy on how to win. And then I converted to strategy on how to persuade. And now I've converted to strategy on how to accept. There's just people, if you don't like the Irish, you don't like the Irish. I don't know. I've never met anybody. No, I'm kidding. But you just can't, you're not going to change certain personalities. And I always thought I could. I thought I could be with facts, you know what I mean? And truth doesn't always matter. So you just got to proceed and always stay professional, always stay courteous with people's opinions. In this case, opposition or any negotiation tool. Sometimes I'd get really frustrated. You get really bent. We all try to stay honest and in that. Like that guy's stretching the truth. Fancy way to say lying. Like right now, I got a guy who we did a favor for as an example. I did this guy a favor, a big favor. I let him stay on the property down in Chula Vista. Now he's a damn squatter and he's getting crappy about it. And we let him stay on the property rent free. Now we're paying an attorney to get him off. Boat builder, and he's turned out to be a real bad person. So do I let that bug me? Not like it used to. I just think if you get through enough of it, you gotta quash what's really important and just keep moving forward and staying positive, maintaining the facts and producing something and being a good listener. With decision makers, I always try to get people, even opposition, I try to get their handprint on the plan. Yesterday, for an example, a certain councilman in a certain city said, James, would you ever consider art in public places? Damn, brother, that's my favorite topic. And I love it. I love that thing. Brea has a big one. I work for a company that did it. I don't know if you guys know about Foothill Ranch, but that entire master plan has art in public places. It's probably the first master plan in California to do so. Heck, that's outside of the box, and that actually is fun. Hell yeah, we'll do that, councilman. So that's really how I relax. Is the stuff on my mind a lot, Zachary? Hell yeah. Am I trying to solve problems in my head? Yes. But the best problem solvers that I go to are people like you. Just smart people. That's why reaching out, Zach, is really important. Going to events is really important. I could bore you all with how many times I've gone to an event and I've met somebody that was my problem solver. It just happened last Thursday night. Another amazing story. I don't want, but holy smokes, it was almost like an omen that this guy stepped up to me and we had a conversation, and it's exactly who I needed to talk to get to a certain person where I need a favor from. So outreach, exposure, getting your name, mixing is incredibly important. And I don't know if it's as popular as it used to be, with a certain generation, but it's not ever going to not be valuable. And you got to have fun. You got to have fun. I've gotten compliments. James, you make this business fun. I go, thank God. If you can't laugh a few things off and make it fun, and then maybe hiccup along the way, what spirit are you going to have to really get to the end? So that's kind of, stuff's in my mind constantly, to be honest with you. Thank you for asking that question. How about you? Let me pick. John, what's going on?
What's going on? I actually do have a question for you. So I think we all here know how strong the housing industry is right now.
Yeah.
But do you see any long-term headwinds on the horizon?
No, I really don't. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a Ivy Zellman or a John Burns or a Jeff Meyer, but I do read their stuff. I do really read. I get the Orange County Register for one reason, because I read John Lansner's articles. They're all his 5 bubble mentality, and then what he writes about. I just find it it's great. It's easy reading. I get it. If I get it, anybody can get it. I just don't see it, John. I don't. The pent up demand is so large, and people talk about out migration and immigration. It's really about a pool of buyers, and they talk about the millennials. I used to get tired of hearing theories about millennials. You really can't categorize people. You know what I mean? You can't generalize like that. Well, they aren't buying home. Well, who knows? Well, all of a sudden, a lot of people want a home, and I think deep down, a lot of people would rather own a home than rent. And there's always going to be renters. There's always going to be that lifestyle that people accommodate. Look at the Irvine Company. One time I had a great conversation with a guy named Don Moe, who ran the marketing for the Irvine Company. And I go, man, how do you get these ideas? I mean, I had these problems. He goes, James, it's easy. Just do what Don Bren does. And he was kind of right. Like, I've had problems with landscape design, street design. I drive one of their communities, like, holy smokers, he did it. My problem's fixed right in front of me. Look at how they worked this out. It's amazing. Well, he's a genius at it over by the Spectrum with the rental program and that whole village concept he created around that Spectrum that basically feeds his retail. But for home ownership, there's years. Again, we will, in my opinion, we will never reach satisfying the supply needs in this state. There's just millions of homes. You just don't go out and create those everywhere. Master plan communities, as you well know, John, are very difficult to operate. Why? It takes so damn much money. The capital up front is so huge that to get the return on your capital takes years and years and years, unless you own the land for free, i.e. Rancho Mission Viejo, or have a very super low basis on it. So no, we're in for a run. I think architecture, I was mentioning this yesterday to Ryan about the creativity of architecture. It used to be much more of a benign, bland product and industry. And over time, my God, some of the best thinkers come from WHA and some of the other operators. Like, they really think through the market. It's a much deeper, harder effort than I think it ever has been in the past. I think that's true with all of our applications. For every one of you on the screen, I think there's some careers that have been created over the last 15, 20 years. I mentioned one just a moment ago about contamination. That's a big part of our industry now. And I think the applications have gotten very, very deep. I invented the term, and I mentioned this yesterday, 5-sided architecture. That's my brand. Anybody copy it, they better look out for me. And I'm not kidding. Think about it. When did the roofs become part of architecture? In almost every product now we do, there's rooftop decks. There's some rooftop livable component, and it's really complicated. It's way harder to design a rooftop deck or some application on the top floor, this basically the ceiling of a structure, than an elevation. So that's a great example of how many changes there are. When it comes to marketing, look at all the applications via the internet. Here's another example. John, we're working right now in La Mirada. Who'd ever think I'd learn about billboard signs? Well, we're doing it. And it's a very complicated, complex industry. So there's consultants out there that do it. And you deal with Caltrans, you deal with the city, you deal with the overall design of it all and so forth. So there's so many ways and pursuits to make a livelihood. I think we're in for a long run, certainly, John, with housing. There's just too much demand.
Cool, thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
We got a long question in the chat box from, I think, Kevin. Kevin, did you want to go ahead and read this, or do you want me to go read it off?
You can just fire away, Ryan.
Okay, great. Let's see. That says, hi, James. I'm a new forward planner at Moreau, DC as of April, graduated civil engineering background last year, and I am familiar with managing technical risk. Recently, I saw that San Diego Superior Court invalidated an Oceanside voters referendum on a development that could have a major implication on development statewide. As a two-pronged question, how do you manage political risk in the entitlement process and keep up to date on learning the latest relevant methodologies to apply SB 330, SB 35, RENA local rulings?
Okay, I'm Paul. My audio is not doing that well. I think the question was about the overruling of the referendum in Oceanside?
Yes.
That's a fantastic win. And I actually know a couple of the attorneys that were responsible or involved in it. Referendum's a horrible way to govern. It takes all the power away from the decision makers that were chosen, selected, voted on by the community. And then who the hell's not going to vote no on something like development? It's too easy because there's too much NIMBYism in a lot of people's blood. And you'd be surprised, even people in my industry, Gretchen, I'll use Huntington Beach. I almost lost a couple friendships over it. Like, wait a minute. All of a sudden you made a livelihood of this business, and now you might be opposed to us replacing a flipping tank farm for housing in a beautiful community like that, that's going to do so many positives, because you're scared about change, or you might think that you might have a prediction that there might be an intersection that'll be more crowded. But it's cool that you got here. I mean, I find that quite hypocritical. So, but back to Oceanside, that's a huge win. It's a huge win because we avoid certain places to do business. It's strategic decision making. I'll tell you all a secret. We're concerned about the California Coastal Commission. It has been hijacked, and do we look at really many more? And they've done a great job. I think that the goal of the California Coastal Commission is really not to control and manage development and their policies. It's kind of swayed to stopping development and so forth. So I get kind of rubbed back on Zach's question, the hypocrisy with government and their policies versus when you try to apply yourself and concur with them and actually hit it out of the park with one of their policies, which we try to do. So back to Oceanside, we weren't looking in that area because of the referendum component of Costa Mesa. I think they shot themselves in the foot. I really do. So I hope that law and that group and that decision, because that becomes kind of a precedent sometimes, becomes more and more popular, and referendum is overruled as far as zoning and decision making.
Kevin says, understood, thanks. His mic isn't working.
Thank you, Kevin. I got a joke. We got to pause here. Okay. An Irishman walks into a bar. He immediately walks out. Miracles happen. Okay, that was a little, you'll get that one later, right? Okay. All right.
I'm Irish, so I get that one.
How you doing, Kelly? Mike?
I have a question for you, James.
Sure, please.
I appreciate you taking time out of your morning to share more about your background and provide insight for us. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm curious, what skill do you feel like you've developed that's helped you most when you're negotiating or going through the entitlement process?
Trust. Yep, trust. That when you say something, honestly, I mean, it's a big word. It's like love, right? It kind of makes you feel good when you hear it. You hear the word love, it kind of brings a chemical response to you. But I think in all my years, if you're trusted on what you say, you will do. And if there's ever a change, you got to explain it. So it goes down to the art of persuasion. And I think if you're dealing with people that you can trust and vice versa, and I know it sounds old school, but a handshake should be a bond, right? I love that when a guy comes across and goes, hey, my handshake is still good. Bring it on, bring it on. We'll let the lawyers do the paperwork. But if you can have that kind of faith in another person and vice versa, and then you become friends. Believe it or not, a lot of people I do business with, Mike, I've become friends with. We associate. We have a lot of things in common. And that's what's kind of cool about this business. I don't think we've ever pressed for anything funky that we didn't think was a great addition to a community, or we didn't get more involved in the community. We didn't bring something to the table. For example, Katie and I are working on in Fullerton, where you just can't play greed. That you get, man, I pick up on that right away, and I think others do too. And I think another thing, Mike, and I'll be quiet here because it's a great question. Never assume someone isn't as smart or smarter than you. I'm blown away. Sometimes, like, you'll make a judgment, right? Oh my God, that dude knew his stuff, right? You just got to keep that in mind. Like there's really smart people out there, and give them that respect of being very bright and very serious and sincere in any item they bring up. And then there's always going to be some, person that has something very, very outrageous or you can't trust. You come across that, just give them grace and you move on. And then last, involvement. I think, Katie mentioned I'm involved with the Huntington Beach Wetlands Conservancy. I kind of did that because, number one, they were next door, they were neighbors, and I find it fascinating that people volunteer, spend time, and are that interested in species. Why can't I? I've always kind of liked birds, and not for hunting. And I got nothing against hunting, right? Because I grew up in Davis, California. But I think finding people's interests and then being trusted and being friendly and courteous and ways to persuade is the way to go. I know the principals of your firm do that, and actually a lot of the principals and you all probably have that same mentality, and just keep it up.
Great. Thank
Beer
you.
helps too, Mike. I like beer. So
yeah, me too.
It's a good pacifier. All right.
Yeah.
The truth comes out.
Awesome. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
James, what kind of beer guy are you?
Oh yeah, I'm a bud in a can, but that whole craft beer thing is fascinating. Believe it or not, I grew up with a guy that started making beer years ago up in Davis. It was a company called Sudwork. I go, what are you doing? You can buy this stuff in a can, man. I'll take you over to Lucky's right now. They got shelves of it, and how naive I was. But I think the whole craft beer thing is really interesting. I was in Mexico 2 weeks ago. It's happening down there. By the way, when you order an IPA in this part of Mexico I was at, it's referred to as an IPA. I went back and forth with I go, and I want an IPA. She goes, oh, an IPA. No, IPA. IPA. I go, just bring it. And the bottle said IPA on it. So no, I think I've never been able to really drink wine because of the whole sulfite tannin thing. I wake up like, what the hell hit me last night? So the whole beer craze, I'm digging it. I think it's fascinating. Anaheim is huge on it. I mean, everywhere you go, it's becoming a popular setting. So, I try not to drink too much of it, but I think it's a great hobby.
Awesome. I know my brother moved to Anaheim specifically because he loves craft beer. So
yeah,
he likes the diversity. We have Devin has a question.
Fire away, Devin.
I do. Okay, so what is one thing you would tell your younger self? And the second question is, you had mentioned that you had read some journals. Is there one specific that you would recommend or a book that stuck out to you?
Yeah. One thing I would change about myself.
No, what would you tell your younger self?
What would be what again? I'm not hearing it.
What would you say to your younger self?
Oh God, great question. And right away, Devin, I thought about what I tell my kids.
Okay, that works.
Yeah, advice. Whether they listen to me or not. I think my younger self, I'd be less judgmental. If I look back, I was judgmental and not prejudiced, but I would prejudge somebody. You know what I mean? Until I got to know them. Like, wait a minute, stop doing that. You're wrong a lot, James. You're wrong a lot. And in doing that, it helped me create relationships better in doing so. So that's that part. Then your second part of the question, Devin?
You had read quite a bit of journals or a book. Is there one that you recommend?
Yeah, I really believe, I mentioned the Orange County Register, this guy named John Lansner. He really does keep up on the pulse of the market in different aspects of it. It's the only thing I really read in that newspaper, because I think that paper's gotten so depleted. I read the Epoch News because I don't trust media.
I know.
At all. And hey, look, there's one thing too, Devin, and I'm not trying to get political here, but there was a time, because when the first men I met out of college, ironically, was a gentleman named Tom Fuentes, who's since passed. Well, he was the head of the Republican Party for Orange County for 18 years. And ironically, he was the human resources person at this engineering company where I went to work. Well, okay, I really wasn't, I didn't even vote, quite honestly, before and during college. I missed the whole Reagan era. I read a little bit about it, but nothing really affected me until I kind of got into this business. Then I started kind of keeping a close pulse on politics. And I'm generalizing here, but primarily in Orange County and in other areas, if that person was a Republican, they had roots with property rights. So you're pretty good with that person if that was their, if they were with the, you know, the GOP, with the Grand Old Party. That's kind of what they evolved in. Then you would, back to prejudging, you would brand a Democrat, and I would do that. Like, oh, they're probably, you know, they probably wear Birkenstocks and get out, and I'm going to see them drive away in a Volkswagen. You know,
Right.
I'm being silly. So what I want to keep up on different aspects, because I don't care anymore. Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. I'm here to help your city. And if you have to respect your your constituents that put you in office, I respect that. You know what I mean? And quite honestly, Devin, I'm having really good luck with people that have the D behind their name, because they're really into housing. Allah, you know, it's kind of a magical thing, you know. And then as far as journals, I read the Epoch News. I read parts of the Orange County Register. Orange County Business Journal is a great one. Believe me, there's all kinds of aspects out there as far as, I read Burns Report, I read information from Ivy Zellman, wherever I can get it, if it has to do with the market. Here's a good question, John, Devin. I asked Ivy about 3 weeks ago when she did a presentation, do you think builders will be buying land in emerging markets? We did a lot of that at Beazer, meaning, and I named them off: Menifee, Hesperia, Adelanto, areas like that, Menifee, Merino Valley. She says, by all means, there's that much popularity, there's that much demand that builders will be encroaching out to the suburbs, especially post-COVID. So I just try to pick up on any business journal I can, or any kind of piece of information to give me advice to help make decisions. We do a lot of hospitality work too. So I read in the business journal who's making transactions, where money's being spent. Land C's always in the news. They're a very aggressive buyer. You know, want to keep the pulse on who's really active, Lennar and so forth. So everywhere I can. The last book I read, believe it or not, I don't read a lot of books. I read a lot of magazines, usually automotive. I read a book, a biography about Lou Reed. A lot of you may not even know who he was, but he was a musician out of the 70s and 80s. And sometimes I find it fascinating. And it goes back to prejudging my opinion of him. And then I read about his life. And it's amazing when you really read about somebody and what created them. You know, it's all examples. We're all kids. We're all, you know, in older bodies, mine much older than you all. And then it's your experiences that kind of create you along the way. I think you're going to find that to be true.
Thank you.
Welcome. I've kind of gone past my hour. Hey, any of you, if y'all, I hope y'all know my email. So if a question comes up or an idea, I'd love to stay in contact with you.
What is your email?
J O'Malley, no apostrophe, OMALLEY at Shopoff, SHOPOFF. And I'm not recruiting here, but we are in need of fine talent, thick-skinned. When I say thick-skinned, not internally here, we actually have a very polite professional organization. You know, the spirit on the floor kind of goes back to trust. I don't know if you ever worked in an organization where there was an individual that wasn't the case, how much problem that can create. I call it cancer. We don't have that here. We're too busy. We're too win goal oriented to achieve. And this isn't a pitch for Shopoff, but here I sound like it is. I apologize. We just work on some stuff that I don't mind saying I've never done that before, because I'm going to find out somebody who has and reach out to them and get help. And we work on many different things, different ways and different markets with different needs. I find it fascinating because it never gets boring. It never gets rhetorical. It never gets bland. I couldn't imagine coming to work and doing that. Life is short. Careers are shorter. That was not an ism I heard from a guy one time. So you got to be really happy walking in and excited. And there's nothing wrong with thinking about work after hours. That means you're in the game, in my opinion. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, James.
Didn't mean to put anybody on the spot today. Thank you. So you all have my email. If you need help or anything, I'm always around for you. Or if you have a question, I'd be thrilled and privileged to answer it.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.